Collected some rhyolite yesterday. This is local rhyolite. And it naps pretty well. Fortunately, there's not much of it. You gotta grade a lot of stones and look for it for a long time to find decent pieces, and you can see it's got cracks and stuff in it. And it tends to have layering, so it'll flake really well along one axis, and then the other it won't as much. But it tends to form, fortunate for us as we're bifacing stuff, it tends to form in layers that are suitable for bifacing, because the more it forms in one direction, the better it is to flake in that direction, and it naturally will occur as it erodes and whatnot and weathers as flatter pieces. So yeah, and I just saw, I saw a lot of rhyolite artifacts from North Carolina, and I'm inspired to make a Hardaway Dalton. You can see it doesn't flake as well in that direction. I call it Barney chert or Barney rhyolite because it's purple. I would like to. This is probably is a variety of Farmington chert, which is a rhyolite, metavolcanic. You can see it's not flaking as well in that direction. But it's a great napping material, and I love it. I just wish I could find more of it. The creek that I was looking in, it has it, but it's not as abundant as I would have liked for it to be. Oh, I'm gonna cut in over to that scar over there. A lot of the Hardaway Daltons aren't too big, so I mean this is plenty large enough for that style. I don't think I've ever made a Hardaway Dalton. It's basically a triangular shaped, usually triangular shaped blade with a couple of two small little side notches. Oh, that flake should have been better. Yeah, concave base. Shouldn't be too hard to do. Some of this material can actually be pretty glassy. This piece is not super glassy. You can see it's a little grainier. It still works great, but some of the pieces that I found, I think this piece is probably the glassiest that I found. Works great. And I've never seen any finished points made from it, but I have seen artifacts and quarry, little chipped around pieces. Like when I was looking around yesterday, I found some in the creek that had been worked. This is a sandstone hammerstone that I'm using. This was given to me by Ken Peak. Thanks, Ken. Not the best platform here. It still works. Wasn't quite what I was hoping for. If I had used a punch on that platform, it probably would have done a lot better, but I'm just trying to hammer stone it out right now. Probably switch to the punch soon. Also gotta start thinking about where I want the base to be. Base will probably be this side. Alright, let's switch to the punch. It's a lot easier to film this during the evening when I have a light set up so I can control the lighting, but I'm just having a lot of technical difficulties lately because my phone doesn't film that great, and also it doesn't charge that great. Okay. Still over here more. Right there. That's probably pretty good. I'll try to stay in this area. I'm gonna do some of the platform setup maybe off camera a little bit, just because I'm using the hammerstone. I need a little more space for pulling those flakes down. More follow through on my strikes. This is not the best platform. Oh, jumped the hinge. It wasn't a great platform. It was pretty low, but because I was hitting pretty inward, it jumped it, I'm assuming. Okay, here's where we're starting to see some of that layering. You can see it's stepping in certain areas on this material. It does that. Hopefully it's not too much of that side. Just flakes a lot differently in certain areas. Getting real steppy in there. Hopefully that area doesn't go too far in. Cracks and stuff. Oh yeah. I get it out of there. Also, when it's layered like that, it doesn't travel. Flakes don't travel normally across the surface as they would on something that's more consistent. Piece seems to be a little more layered than others. these layers out of there. Where it has that lighter or greenish look, that's where it's harder. And that is Farmington chert. This is just a variety, purple Farmington chert, I guess. Hit a Pedernales point earlier. I got a hinge, so I punched it off with the vertical punch. Flaking pretty weird over here. It's kind of a hinge right there. Turning this edge so I can go up the other way. This will be our tip. Kind of a square preform right now. Turning some more flakes down this way. Pressure flaked this material before. It pressure flakes really well. As long as you get a piece that's not too crazy. Not too layered. That's looking all right. This is very sloppy punch work, but that's okay. Just trying to thin it down right now. Start at the tip and thin down towards the base. Coming high on this platform because I know it's got that layering in there, and the more space I give it, the better chance that it has to jump over some of those layered areas. Okay, this is the area that it's really layered. See all that? That's a problem. This area, not bad. Maybe try to get a flake over this way. There's a little nub on that platform. Get that out of there. Not quite as far as I would have liked it, but it's okay. Decent flake. I was hoping we could get some of that crunchiness over there. Maybe we can from this side. Not quite. Not hinging, that's all I really care about. But it'd be nice to get some of it. It's just funny how this material flakes because it's kind of got this layering, and when you create platforms, they kind of have these tiny little hinges on them. Basalt can sometimes have a similar property where it has layering or directionality to it. And sometimes a lot of fine-grained volcanics have that. That should have been a good flake. All my flakes should have been good flakes, every single one. I'm a little worried about that area back there that's just close to all that stuff, all that junk. Okay. Oof. See a little area in the edge that lit because it's not as supported, not as strong as other areas. This material has an old look to it, which is cool. All the ridges kind of get almost like polished look. I was gonna say that looked like a great platform, and it finally did what it needed to do. Let's see. As for the material, a Hardaway is obviously not appropriate because these are not made in California, but the material, the style that would be most appropriate to make out of this, there's quite a few things, but I would say probably a borax lake wide stem, early archaic borax lake wide stem would probably be pretty appropriate. Which I've already made from some of this stuff. And I made a little pile the other day, but I had to leave some of it behind because I kept walking the creek, and then I found another spot that was productive, and so I just started spalling some of those pieces out of there. Got some of these spalls that I have right now. I gotta go back for those other ones. Not today, though. I'm gonna start tapering the tip a little bit. Un poquito. I don't know how many Hardaway Daltons are shaped more like a lance. Lancelet. A lot of the ones that I've seen are kind of square. They could also be resharpened, and that's why they look more square. You know. Also, my stomach is making a bunch of noises, so please disregard that. Damn it. Kind of hinged out a little bit. It looked like a great platform. Contours just weren't right. We got to deal with this area where there's crunchiness going on. layers are kind of smaller now, and I'm trying to use the little facets on the punch to make sure that I hit the right spot. And that's why it's also important to isolate your platforms out a little bit, just so that you can hit them. Not always to have a good effect on the surface. Okay, here's where we need to shine. I'm gonna show this real quick. So, oh, where's the sun? There's sun. Where we need to shine is right here, where we got all this stuff here. We're gonna have to try to get some flakes over this way. We're starting to thin and taper the tip, put a little bit of a balance on it so that we can pressure flake. And yeah, see what I mean by this material looks old? The layers, the ridges look like they've been polished, which is so crazy to me. Okay, put you back in there. Doing pretty good for, that's what's nice about spalls, is I'm not wasting a lot of time. Getting down to it. It's only been 22 minutes and we have a pretty good point. I'm nervous about this platform. Just gotta go for it. Nice. It didn't contribute to the hinge. It kind of went past it. Not over it, but it's still important for this area. There's my stomach again, making crazy noises. Don't want to make this too thin. Yeah, that hinge is pretty deep. And you can see it there. We might have to, maybe we can try to get it from the other side. Might be able to. Full-length flakes on this material are a lot harder because it just doesn't, it just flakes a little different. I'm gonna take one right here, go more downward, another one, not downward right here. This platform cannot be too low. Not the best platform, but let's see what happens. Yes! I was swinging for the fences on that one. And actually overshot a little bit, but that's all right. Now we can be a little more careful. I had to do those little isolations before I struck that because it was gonna do some crazy stuff if I didn't. Careful down here on the base too for end shock. This material does have little pockets of grainier rhyolite in it. I'm excited to see how it pressure flakes because I mean it was years and years ago that I made a little arrow point out of this material. basal thinning here. Some of these Hardaways have some pretty nice basal thinning. There's a little hinge here, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get one right here. Yep, it worked. I don't know where my other punch is, but I have one that's much narrower. I don't think I brought it. I think it's in Chico. This is the widest, or this is pretty much the only punch that I have. I have this little elk antler on the end of this one, which is pretty much only for obsidian. You can use it on harder materials like this, but it's just not as great. And it's also almost worn out, so I'm using the corner of it. But there are some little areas that I want to get some flakes. I'll just save that for pressure. I think we're good to go to pressure. I'll show you what I got here. You can find some light. Got some basal thinning going. Pressure time. Pressure flaking is going to be a little harder to film, but Hardaway Daltons have quite a bit of pressure flaking, so I'm gonna get real hot. It's just kind of getting kind of warm out here. It seems to be sharpened quite a bit. Not a whole lot, but this is a brow tine stuck into a elk antler, and it feels kind of loose. I have to hammer it in there a little bit. Just friction fit. It can be kind of nice to have a wider or a wider tip on a pressure flaker at this stage, because you can clean up a lot of little areas without having to use a whole lot of force. Yeah, pressure flake's great. This is just random pressure because I just switched from the percussion to pressure, so I'm cleaning up areas that are lower or higher, trying to blend the two areas. We're not going to do like a crazy series on this one though. We're not going to do like, I don't think the whole piece is going to be full of pressure flakes. Just want to make a Hardaway Dalton out of Rhyolite, which is pretty cool to me. There's like an orc in my stomach today. all kinds of noises. I don't want these to go that far because there's a low area. These can go a little further. Ah, crunchy spot there. Higher areas. Get rid of some of those old ridges from percussion. If I had a smaller tipped punch, I probably could have removed these without having to pressure flake them off. But again, we're making a Dalton, which a lot of the time exhibited pressure flaking, so it makes sense. Kind of that rougher area where we had that hinge, so I got to be careful. Play it safe and push up a little higher on the platform and get a shorter flake that comes off clean rather than trying to Hail Mary and get a thinner, longer flake with the risk of running a hinge. Yeah, I'm saying. I hope I get the Hardaway Dalton bass correct because I've never made one, so the way I think of it is just like a Dalton bass with two little corner notches almost, or two little side notches right where the bass curves or the ears curve. Bring the bass in more. Sure I don't flake too much on this side. I'm still high off of that flake that I got that removed the opposite edge hinge from that isolated platform, and that crunchy area felt great. That's what Flintknapping's all about. Just having fun with trying to learn and challenge yourself. Tip to base series. My pressure flaker's curling over a little bit. I'm trying to make this a relatively fast video, but I know I tend to Flintknap slower than others. But I like to take my time. I think it's special. This This rock is only going to be able to be napped once. I would like to try to get some basal punch flakes that are going to come in and make that base a little better looking, but the reality is, the problem is with that little area is that there's some hinges on it. I might be able to come back in with the percussion percussor and see if we can go in there. Also, I think on these Hardaways the bases are kind of deep and very curved, so they don't work the whole ear all the way. They don't work the concavity of the base all the way to the ear. Some of them do have flutes. It's looking like a Clovis right now, a little paleo. Probably punch in a flute here. I think I'll just pressure it in though. Small one. From what I remember, the ears on these are pretty flared out from the base. So we got to take the base in now. Put some tiny little notches. This is the part where it gets kind of harder. I don't know what the bases look like on these ones. And this one doesn't have the right shape as much. But we'll see. Thinning there. Could just make a Dalton, but it's fun to learn and try new points, especially from Rhyolite, which is very commonly, or was very commonly used in North Carolina, which I'm making a North Carolina paleo style, which they were using a lot to make this stuff. So this one's gonna look a little different just because it is made from, of course, a different material from a different state, but it's also not the classic Hardaway form, from what I remember. So it's got they have a constricting base or a tapering base, but then they also have that curve in there. And then the actual notch. It's like the notches will go right there and there. Sure as hell ain't gonna notch with this tool, too broad. Okay. I'll do it with the bison ulna that John gave me. It's got a little notch on it. Hopefully this will work. I'm trying to think about where I want the notches to go. Like right there and there. A little higher. Like right there. There. Let's go like right here. I think. Hope that's right. I hope. It's pretty thick and crunchy. The bone's kind of sliding around. There we go. Okay. Getting it in there. I gotta be careful on these ears because I don't want to break them off, and they're pretty easy to break off on this Rhyolite because it's kind of flaky and brittle. It's where the ears really curve out. Almost to a point. I'm gonna just leave that. Let's see. A basic pressure flaker. Looks pretty good. Okay, yeah, this area. There's just a little area on this notch that I want to get rid of, but I don't know if I should because it's pretty far in there and it's in a vulnerable spot, and if the flake comes off it's going to be pretty big. Maybe I'll try to just scrunch it or grind it. Follow this down to the base. I don't know if this is turning out to be more like greenbrier or San Patrice or what, but it's looking all right. ears. I'll do like one more series of pressure flakes that'll sharpen up the rest of the blade. Maybe put some small serrations on it and call it good. I would also like to get some punch flakes in the base, or actually just some flute flakes. I could do that with pressure. Just some small little guys down on the base there. Dig myself a small little platform so I can get this next side. There we go. I'm happy with that. I'll have to go, after I'm done with this, I'll have to go inside, see how this compares to some of the artifacts and how well I did it based on memory. We can sharpen up the tip a little bit. Do some of the finishing pressure flaking. I don't know if these were beveled or not. I mean, knowing that they're Dalton, they probably are. Or they're a variation of Dalton's, an early archaic thing. Or at least are associated with Dalton, I would imagine. That was kind of crunching. Don't want crunching. It's just a little area that keeps crunching. I don't want to bring the base in too much, but bring the tip. There we go. Don't want it to have much of a resharpened look, I don't think. Actually surprised my phone is still filming. Pretty much done, but maybe I'll just do a small resharpening series of random flaking with the smaller antler tool. Okay, we'll put some serrations on it, small serrations. Okay, let us grind this area in here. Use the concrete side of this flake to get some better grinding. Alright, did I finish a point under an hour? Yay, I did! It's decent. I'm happy with it. Squirrels are brawling over there. Alright, let me show you this. I'll take it over into the yard. Purple Rhyolite. North Carolina, Dalton style. This is that flake, that percussion flake that I got shoot over onto the other edge. Ground base. Let me show you this material with water on it. It's pretty cool. Let's see this doohickey over here. The purple really comes out. I'm also gonna wash the dust off of my hands. See the colors in there? It's got some darker areas. Those darker areas are what cause problems. It's harder rhyolite. It's like a purplish brick colored material. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned something. Although I wasn't doing much teaching, but just fun to watch napping sometimes. Paleo guy. Thanks.